We have never been closer to World War III than we are today under Joe Biden. A global conflict between nuclear-armed powers would mean death and destruction on a scale unmatched in human history. It would be nuclear Armageddon. Nothing is more important than avoiding that nightmare. We will avoid it, but we need new leadership. Every day this proxy battle in Ukraine continues, we risk global war. We must be absolutely clear that our objective is to immediately have a total cessation of hostilities. All shooting has to stop. This is the central issue. We need peace without delay. In addition, there must also be a complete commitment to dismantling the entire globalist neocon establishment that is perpetually dragging us into endless wars, pretending to fight for freedom and democracy abroad, while they turn us into a third world country and a third world dictatorship right here at home. The State Department, the defense bureaucracy, the intelligence services, and all of the rest need to be completely overhauled and reconstituted to fire the deep staters and put America first. We have to put America first. Finally, we have to finish the process we began under my administration of fundamentally reevaluating NATO's purpose and NATO's mission. Our foreign policy establishment keeps trying to pull the world into conflict with a nuclear-armed Russia based on the lie that Russia represents our greatest threat. But the greatest threat to Western civilization today is not Russia. It's probably, more than anything else, ourselves and some of the horrible USA-hating people that represent us. It's the abolition of our national borders. It's the failure to police our own cities. It's the destruction of the rule of law from within. It's the collapse of the nuclear family and fertility rates like nobody can believe is happening. It's the Marxists who would have us become a godless nation worshiping at the altar of race and gender and environment. And it's the globalist class that has made us totally dependent on China and other foreign countries that basically hate us. These globalists want to squander all of America's strength, blood, and treasure, chasing monsters and phantoms overseas while keeping us distracted from the havoc they're creating right here at home. These forces are doing more damage to America than Russia and China could ever have dreamed. Evicting this sick and corrupt establishment is the monumental task for the next president, and I am the only one who can do it. I'm the only one that can get the job done. I know exactly what has to be done.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's the 5 o'clock evening update for you guys. I wanted to get some things out to you and touch on some of the topics that you probably missed while you were at work. Now, let's start with Russia issuing long-range missile warning to the West. It's supposed to be our understanding that Joe Biden himself came out and told Zelensky that he can use long-range weapons, U.S. long-range weapons, to strike deep inside of Russia. I'm going to say this. None of us heard the conversation. I don't think we have any footage of them two having a conversation. So we'll start right here with this and say the deep state is trying to blow up the world before they all go to prison. This is nothing new. This is what they've been trying to do from the beginning. And in my opinion, this was their last ditch attempt to have some type of leverage over what's coming in the near future. Think about it. If you were a criminal organization who was international and you knew for a fact that you were going to go to prison, wouldn't you pull out all the stops? And quite frankly, the final stop is to put Vladimir Putin in a position where he has to decide whether he's going to fire nuclear missiles or not. Now, we know that Russia has a nuclear doctrine, point blank period. Russia said they will never, ever be defeated and destroyed the way they were previously. So when Putin says he will shoot nuclear weapons, I believe it. The real issue is How do we stop it? And who's going to stop it? We got about 60 something days before the inauguration. They would love to have a war right now. They would love to have American cities blown up. The reason why is so there cannot be a transfer of power, because there's a war going on. And so we see the deep state striking back, doing what we expect the deep state to do. We don't expect them just to roll over and die. We expect them to act a damn fool. The issue is, how is it going to be resolved? And quite frankly, I'm not sure how it's going to be resolved. I'm pretty sure that Trump had communications with both Zelensky and Putin, because just last week, Putin was coming out and Zelensky came out and said, this war is going to come to an end rather quickly. Zelensky said these words: this war will come to an end rather quickly under Trump's administration. And that had to be Friday, because I recorded a video on it and I never released it. I was supposed to release it Saturday, so that was Friday. Today's Monday. So there was a switch between Friday and Monday, and that switch was the deep state. I don't believe that Joe Biden gave him permission to do anything. I believe that the deep state that controls Joe Biden told him, you gonna do this. And they told him, if you don't do this, we gonna kill you. And so Zelensky's got his back up against the wall. Putin has his back up against the wall. And they're threatening to nuke the entire world if they don't get their way. And their way is they want to stay in power. Their way is they want to continue to smuggle children. Their way is they want to continue to destroy everything the way they have. So, do we see ourselves having World War III? Is it possible? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't think it's going to happen. Do I think that Putin will wipe the rest of the Ukraine off the map if he's forced to? Yeah, I absolutely think he will. Furthermore, I think this is going to, if you really look around news media outside of the United States, you see all this pressure being put on Putin, saying, calling for him to pull out of Ukraine. He could end this now if he pulls out of Ukraine. He can end it now if he pulls out of Ukraine. Blah, 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 blah. And I think it's just a matter of them leaving messes for Donald Trump to clean up. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. Don Jr., though, feels like Putin is doing, Don Jr. feels like Joe Biden's doing this on purpose, and he's trying to start World War III. Let's take a listen to what Don Jr. said.
Russian President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine is ramping up. A Russian drone hit a residential building in the southern Ukrainian port city of Odessa early Saturday, killing 7 people, including a 3-month-old baby, and injuring 8 others. This as both nations are making advances while Putin is making new threats to Western countries. So here with me to discuss this is former U.S. Ambassador to NATO and former Special Representative for Ukraine, Kurt Volker. I'm also joined here by former Ambassador to Iceland under the President Trump administration and current U.S. Senate candidate from Nevada, Dr. Jeff Gunter. Great to have you both here on this Sunday. Ambassador Volker, Ukraine's armed forces needed to shoot down a new wave of Russian drones. Unfortunately, one did cause this damage here in Odessa, but Ukraine is standing strong as its armed forces say that they've taken control of a city in the Donetsk region, eliminating more than 1,000 Russian troops. So, Ambassador Volker, how vital is this win for Ukraine despite receiving no further aid from the U.S.?
Well, there's several things here. First, I think we can't overstate the tragedy of what's happening in Ukraine with the Russians just deliberately attacking civilians. It's crazy. I happened to be in Odessa about 2 weeks ago. I have friends that are there. I know about fast enough.
Putin,
like former ambassador to Iceland, Putin has no interest or desire to negotiate. You put the two together, all he wants.
Okay, I don't know who the fuck this dude is on Newsmax, but these people aren't telling the truth at all. I'm not about to sit here and subject myself to these damn lies. I'm just not about to subject myself to these lies. This is ridiculous. It's crazy. So we overthrew Ukraine and then put biolabs on the border of Russia. And then NATO started moving weapons in along the border of Russia. All this crazy foolishness went on. It's insane. And this is the problem with our media. Our media will not tell you the truth. I thought Newsmax would at least tell you the truth. They won't tell you the truth. They won't. They just want, it's sad, man, that nobody will tell the damn truth anywhere. I mean, it's horrific. Wow. I mean, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible that you have to be subjected to lies at all times. I mean, really, it's terrible. You have to be subjected to lies at all points in time. Yes, did Putin invade Ukraine? Yes, he had a reason for invading Ukraine. Did Obama overthrow Ukraine? Yes, he did. And so if Ukraine would have stayed in its proper posture, nobody would never went over there and did nothing to them. It was the overthrowing of Ukraine that caused this problem. And I know I'm supposed to be giving you guys some news without opinion, so I'm gonna let it play again.
Saturday, killing 7 people, including a 3-month-old baby, and injuring 8 others. This as both nations are making advances while
I can't do it. It's a bunch of damn lies. Of course, babies died in the war. It's war. Of course, a civilian dies in war. It's war. It's just the framing just aggravates me. You know, a 3-year-old baby died in a war. No shit. It's a war. Civilians died in the war. No shit. It's a war. I don't even know where this concept and this idea comes from, that when you go to war, civilians don't get hurt. When you have a war in your nation, civilians don't die. This is why you don't go to war. It's crazy. The framing is absolutely insane. And even for them to frame it like this is even worse. I mean, it's oh my God, it's so terrible. I'll be right back. Here we go. Let's just get a little dose of truth. Let's go to the arbiter of truth, the real person who tells you the truth.
This moves us 1 second to midnight if those cruise missiles start slamming into military targets in Russia. Because again, why, class? I know most of you heard me, you already knew this, but for those who don't, why again? Because what did Russia say? You're moving up to our borders, you're moving hypersonic missiles in. We don't care if you say they're conventional. They can easily have nuclear warheads put in them. And then you can sneak attack us and take out our nuclear response forces. And we are not going to accept a preemptive first strike. And the Pentagon under Obama said the U.S. now has gotten rid of our prohibition on first strike. And the Pentagon has now been given a doctrine to study and prepare for first strike, offensive sneak attack strike with nuclear weapons on Russia and China. Now, what does that do to them? It makes them expand their nuclear forces. It puts them on edge. It makes them take off the triggers. And then Russia came out and said, we now reserve the right for a first nuclear strike 3 years ago on the eve of the invasion of Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And
you see, it's amazing. No, true news. Let's go back to the fake news. And he's talking about exactly what's going on. Let's go back and listen to this fake news.
Russian President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine is ramping up. A Russian drone hit a residential building in the southern Ukrainian port city of Odessa early Saturday, killing 7 people, including a 3-month-old baby, and injuring 8 others. This as both nations are making advances while Putin is making new threats to Western countries. So here with me to discuss this is former U.S. Ambassador.
And the amazing thing about this is people act like we didn't live through this. Like, we did not live through the events that led to this moment under Obama. I remember looking at it when Obama was doing stuff, saying, yo, this dude trying to get us whacked and killed. So, fake news.
NATO and
Newsmax is supposed to be good. I mean, you can only imagine if I went to CNN or something like that.
Former Special Representative for Ukraine, Kurt Volker. I'm also joined here by former ambassador to Iceland under the President Trump administration and current U.S. Senate candidate from Nevada, Dr. Jeff Gunter. Great to have you both here on this Sunday. Ambassador Volker, Ukraine's armed forces needed to shoot down a new wave of Russian drones. Unfortunately, one did cause this damage here in Odessa, but Ukraine is standing strong as its armed forces say that they've taken control of this.
Just reading off a script, and oh my God, let's go back to the realness.
Vladimir Putin said 2 months ago that they reserve the right for first strikes. And we just put CNN on screen that if any missiles are fired at them that are NATO supplied of this type that can carry nuclear weapons, we will be at war with NATO. So you've got Biden saying months ago, well, I authorized, but not publicly, but it leaked out of the British government, and then Biden didn't deny it. Well, now he officially, 2.5 hours ago, in the New York Times, told the New York Times, yeah, we're going to start bombing right now with a bunch of different types of cruise missiles, not just Storm Shadows. And that's the United States and NATO bombing Russia with not some flimsy drones or cross-border attacks, but precision weapons that they can shoot through your window. They can fire this from 1,000 miles away and fly it right in through your front door.
Again, these people is sick. And you wonder why Donald Trump says these people are sick and they get offended. Oh, he called us sick. He called us this. So, America is 60 days away from being almost home free. And they launch the war. Now, I want to go and fact check what Donald said. He said it was on the New York Times, New York Press. I want to make sure. Even as much as I love Alex, I fact check everybody.
Well, now he officially, 2.5 hours ago, in the New York Times.
I always fact check everyone, guys. You should always fact check everyone, just to make sure that you're on point, including me, because I could be wrong. Just like him, he could be wrong. I doubt if he's wrong, though, but I still fact check it anyway because it's important to know. I'll be right back. Let's see. And it is in the New York Times. Let us see.
Biden allows Ukraine to strike Russia with long-range U.S. missiles. This article is by Adam Entis, Eric Schmidt, and Julian E. Barnes, and read by an automated voice. President Biden has authorized the first use of U.S.-supplied long-range missiles by Ukraine for strikes inside Russia, U.S. officials said. The weapons are likely to be initially employed against Russian and North Korean troops in defense of Ukrainian forces in the Kursk region of western Russia, the officials said. Mr. Biden's decision is a major change in U.S. policy. The choice has divided his advisors, and his shift comes 2 months before President-elect Donald J. Trump takes office, having vowed to limit further support for Ukraine. Allowing the Ukrainians to use the long-range missiles, known as the Army Tactical Missile Systems, or ATACMS, came in response to Russia's surprise decision to bring North Korean troops into the fight, officials said. President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine did not confirm the permission to strike, but suggested on Sunday that more important than lifting the restrictions would be the number of missiles used to strike the Russians. Today, many in the media are talking about the fact that we have received permission to take appropriate actions, Mr. Zelensky said in his nightly address. But blows are not inflicted with words. Such things are not announced. The rockets will speak for themselves. Mr. Biden began.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I need you to understand something. If you are Vladimir Putin, if you are Vladimir Putin and you hear that someone has to get authorization from the U.S. military to use a weapon, then who is actually attacking you? Let's keep it real. Who's attacking you? If Zelensky has to get authorization from Biden to use a weapon, and he gets his permission from Biden, then who's actually attacking Russia? It's the U.S. attacking Russia. It's NATO attacking Russia. The problem that we run into is, and I was wrong earlier. I didn't realize that this jackass actually came out of his mouth and said this. And maybe I'm not wrong. Let me see something. Let me see if Mr. Biden began to ease restrictions. There's still no quote of Biden saying that it was done. There's no quote of him saying it was done. And it doesn't matter because it's the presidency is ran by committee. Excuse me. The presidency of the United States is run by a committee of people right now anyway. So it doesn't matter whether he said it or not. The overall point is somehow this committee has decided that they want to start World War III or attempt to start World War III. And when you look at the Kremlin side, The Kremlin says Biden's Ukraine missiles decision. Let me make this the way you can see it, because it keeps shifting what article you decide, depending on what order you can pick up. Kremlin says Biden's Ukraine missile decision would escalate war. The Kremlin said on Monday that Russia would respond to what it called a reckless decision by Joe Biden's administration to allow Ukraine to fire American missiles deep into Russia, which it said would draw the United States directly into the conflict. Russia has been warning the West for months about how it would interpret such a decision, saying it would raise a risk of a confrontation with the U.S.-led NATO alliance. New York Times and Reuters reported Biden's administration has made a decision on long-range strikes, though there was no official confirmation from Washington. And see, that's the thing that gets me. Like, I'm gonna tell you, how it's hitting me is this. I want to hear this out of Biden's mouth himself, because we know that everything inside of that administration is in shambles. And when you look at it in perspective, earlier today, there was articles coming out where Trump was saying that he was going to court-martial the military generals. That was this morning. And so after he comes out and says, I'm going to court-martial the military generals, then we get this announcement that we're going to fire missiles into the Ukraine. See, it's dawning on me and it's hitting me like it's saber rattling going on. So, for example, let's just, let's step back for a moment, and let's say over the weekend, Donald Trump got word that they were talking about, firing long-range missiles into Russia. And then Donald Trump comes out Monday and says, look, y'all need to sit y'all behind down. I'm going to court-martial all the generals. And then the generals is like, nah, screw that. Whatever. We just going to blow the whole thing up. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a game of chess being played, but the entirety of the planet is at stake. And that's what it seems like, and I believe that's what's going on at this point in time. It's Trump against these deep staters in the American government, in the military. Not necessarily Joe Biden. I think Joe is just dumbass Joe. And when you find yourself in a situation like this, you run the risk of, going to World War III. Hold on one second. I'll be right back. And this article is going back to September 13th. And in September, the Prime Minister of Britain came to America to talk about long-range missile strikes with Joe Biden. Now, this is why this is significant. This guy right here, if I'm not mistaken, his name is Keir Starmer. This guy here is definitely World Economic Forum through and through. I mean, he's spoken at World Economic Forum events. He was at the China event. He's 100% World Economic Forum puppet. And so what we're seeing now is the World Economic Forum stepping in with their plan to destroy the world. They can't rule it. They're going to blow it all up and remake the image of it. So what we're looking at, ladies and gentlemen, is a time for you to pray. Told you it's going to be 5 o'clock news. You need to be praying. Really, it's going to be like 5:30 news, so you don't be mad at me because I'm on color people time. This is something that you need to pray about, because these wicked men, they rather see the whole earth burn. The entirety of it burn. And to be clear, to all you liberals that may tune in, these are still the people that you voted for that are in office. And you see what they're doing right before they get out of office. These are people you voted for: Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. They're still in power. And they're about to kill all of you. That's the craziest thing. We just went through a heated election. Women cutting their hair off their heads, talking about they divorcing their husbands, all the rest of this stuff. And these people about to kill you. Wow. When you really think about it, they're about to kill you.